Like a lot of fashion channels, I make guides on the best things to wear, what I've bought, and why I love it all so much. However, I don't often talk about the things that I regret buying, whether that be something that simply didn't work out, or something I just changed my mind on later down the line. I think it's important for me to call out these regretful purchases and hopefully learn something from them. And by the way, I'm not saying any of these purchases are bad either. Clearly I loved them at some point and they're objectively really nice, but they turned out to be a regret for me later down the line, and in this video I'll explain why. Okay, let's start off with a heavy hitter, and before I get into this one, just remember that even though I regret buying them, I'm not saying I don't like them. It's for Saint Laurent Wyatt boots. There is no doubt that these boots are beautiful, and I still think that right now. However, they were an expensive and regretful mistake for me. Ever since I bought them, they've pretty much sat in the box in my cupboard, unfortunately. And the reason for that is because I'm simply scared of ruining them due to how much they cost and how fragile they are. It essentially comes down to my own frugality. I paid so much for them and now I'm worried about damaging them. You might think differently, but in my opinion, these are not the type of boots that look good beaten up with wear and tear. They look best when they're box fresh. I've just worn these around the house on a handful of occasions and they're already showing signs of wear, so I'd hate to think how they'd look if I wore them outside all the time. I also realised that I just don't go to many occasions where I'd wear boots like this. They're quite specialist in a way. I personally would only wear them to posh but casual events, and I don't lead that sort of lifestyle. But like I said, I still love them, so I've been keeping hold of them just to own them. However, that's not the kind of wardrobe I want. A bunch of collector's items that are never worn. So I finally faced reality and realised that these just aren't for me, and I'm gonna have to get rid of them, probably at a loss. But I've learned that I don't want to buy things in the future just because I like the look of them, without any intention of wearing them, so at least there was a small positive lesson there. This next regret has to do with a very large chunk of my wardrobe actually. It's all the things that I bought in a bigger size to try and get an oversized fit. So what I mean by this is I've always liked the look of a relaxed fit t-shirt, sweater or hoodie, and nothing's changed, I still really like that style. But I guess I never understood why these things actually look good. It's because most of them are intentionally designed to look relaxed. However, in my head I thought, oh, I'll just size up to a large or extra large to get that oversized fit. And that's like 2 or 3 sizes up from my normal size. So unsurprisingly, those things just looked awful on me. Way too long, baggy in all the wrong places, collars that were too wide. I wasn't getting that nice relaxed style, I just looked like I was wearing the wrong person's clothes. Unfortunately, it took me a while to realise this though, and I've ended up with maybe 20 or 30 items of clothing that weren't cheap, and I just don't wear anymore. I literally used to filter out small and medium clothes when searching online, which is my true size, and I regret that so much, because I have some pieces with beautiful designs, but they just don't fit me. I wish I'd bought them in my normal size. But of course, I learned a massive lesson here on intentional design, and I feel like I know now more than ever what looks good on me and what fits me right, and I apply that now to everything I buy. Next up, this regret also applies to a lot of my existing wardrobe, and it's buying modern reproductions. Good examples of this are denim jackets, jeans, and flannel shirts. I really regret not first having a look for true vintage versions before I went out and bought a modern reproduction. I'm definitely not saying reproductions are bad, in fact, some of them are incredible. They're often a reliable way to get a vintage type or rare piece for a decent price, but there have been times where I went straight in for a modern reproduction of something very basic, like a Type 3 denim jacket, a pair of 501 jeans or a flannel shirt, instead of looking for vintage first, where there are already thousands available. I know not everyone is going to be as crazy about vintage as I am, and that's fine. And I won't lie, it can be a pain getting the right size, and often condition can be an issue as well. But when a vintage piece hits, it really hits. It's often cheaper, looks nicer, and fits way better. Okay, another pair of shoes that I regretted buying was the Red Wing Mock Toes. I had such high hopes for these, but there were a few things that made me change my mind once I had them in hand. When I first picked these up, I was going through a transition of trying to upgrade all my existing pieces into higher quality versions. And I'm not disputing the quality of these. In fact, they're some of the highest quality boots that I've ever owned. But when looking for quality stuff, I was obsessed with getting proper original pieces. And the mock toes from Red Wing really stood out to me because it's what they were known for, and they had so many good reviews. And of course I wanted them in the most famous colorway, RO Legacy. Unfortunately, I just found them so difficult to style. The colour, although beautiful, just stands out too much. I definitely prefer more subtle outfits, and whenever I threw these on, it just messed up that balance. I also found the shape didn't work for me. Perhaps I got the sizing wrong, or perhaps they just don't suit my feet, but I couldn't get past the fact that they looked a bit clownish on me, not only because of the colour, but they always looked too long as well. In addition, I could just never get these boots to be comfortable. I wore them a lot, both outdoors and around the house, but I could never seem to get past that break-in period. It doesn't help that they're super heavy as well, easily the heaviest feeling boots I've ever worn. So I ended up not wanting to wear them, and they became a bit of a regret for me. And it's a shame because I do think they're beautiful boots and they look great on other people, but just not for me. Okay, this next one is one of the reasons why my wardrobe used to be, and kind of still is, way too overcrowded. I have this awful habit of finding something I like and then buying multiple variants of it in different colours or styles. Some recent examples of this are the Converse Chuck 70s. I got the black colour and I loved them so much that I decided to also pick them up in this cream colour from the Fear of God collab, because I thought that having a dark and light colour version would give my rotation a lot more versatility. I also did it with the New Balances. I got the 991s and absolutely loved the chunky dad vibe design, so I decided to go out and get some 993s as well in a different colour, again thinking it would make my rotation more versatile. Although there are subtle differences between these sneakers, I regret buying them all because it feels like I have way too many of the same thing now. In reality, I just ended up wearing the original colorway I bought because that was my favorite. And I ignored the additional colorways because I didn't like them as much and I'd prefer to just change my outfits up a bit more. I almost repeated this behavior again recently when I tried to convince myself to buy the Maison Margiela replicas, even though I already have the Adidas Sambas. Again, they're pretty much the same shoe, so there's no point in owning both. I'm so glad I changed my mind at the last minute. I don't mind buying duplicates of things if it's a really basic or neutral staple that's going to go with anything, like a white t-shirt or pair of socks for example. But I seriously do not need more than one of the same shoe design. Even though I've stopped doing this now, I'm still feeling the legacy of this behaviour because my wardrobe is overcrowded, but I'm slowly trying to get rid of all my duplicates. So there's a few specific clothing and shoe regrets that come to mind. I'm sure I'll make many more mistakes in the future, but at least there's always a lesson to be learned. And hopefully you found this useful and can avoid the mistakes that I made. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Ta-ra.